All right, so the first thing we're going to do is just start out with some simple motions just to get the shoulder blades, the rotator cuff muscles moving a little better, get your shoulder mobility moving, as well as your spinal mobility and your hip mobility. It's very important to have that moving before you get things firing very quickly. So the first thing Mike is going to do is just do some shoulder rolls, focusing on the shoulder blades, not so much big arm circles, but just getting his shoulder blade to rotate around the axis. Starting to do 5 to 10 reps front to back, and then he's going to reverse it and go back to front. Okay. Just to loosen up, we talked about in the other video segments the importance of your scapular muscles and your movement of your shoulder blade being appropriate for the skills of tennis with the overhead serve especially. This is one thing that can start that off. Okay. After doing that, we're going to do some internal and external rotations. Okay, so Mike is just going to start with his elbows at his side, and all he's going to do is basically rotate outward and rotate inward, pinching the shoulder blades as he's going out to the side, coming together just to work out those rotational muscles a little bit, work on that mobility in your rotator cuff as well. So 10 reps or so of this is a good plan.
So even without any resistance, this is still a good way to get the muscles going?
Exactly. We're just getting those muscles to fire a little bit.
Okay.
All right. So with your external rotations, you're working on rotating your arms out to the side, drawing your shoulder blades down and back, and if Mike, you could turn around just for a moment. Okay, one thing you can do with a partner is have them put their hand right here as a cue for you. So you're trying to pinch the bottom of your shoulder blades together toward their hand as the rotation of the arm is outward. Just like that. And again, you want to avoid, as we mentioned in the other videos, shrugging your shoulders up, having excessive upper trap activation. You want to focus on that proper mechanics of that. All right? Thank you, Mike. Next thing we're going to do is just to go into some shoulder separation. So without too much body rotation, all Mike is going to do is just right arm forward, left arm back. He's going to do that same side. Good. Then he switch. He's going to do 5 reps on each side, working on a good separation of his shoulders. Okay. Getting the shoulder blades moving a little bit without his body rotating. Okay. And then he's going to rotate and switch sides. Excellent. Next thing he's going to do are some diagonal patterns. I refer to this as a seatbelt exercise. All right. So the first thing he's going to do is almost if he's in the passenger seat of the car. He's going to reach up like he's grabbing his seatbelt, and then he's going to come across, put it outside his opposite hip. Okay. You're incorporating the shoulder blade motion with this, and as he's coming up to around here, very similar to the overhand serve as well. All right. Working on that pattern as he's coming up. Mike, one thing you can also do is rotate your thumb backward as well to get the rotational component of that. And if you turn around for the camera for a moment, as he's coming up, his shoulder blade is rotating down and back. All right, so he has that right mechanical aspect of his shoulder blade. Okay. As he's coming through. After doing about 10 reps of that, then he's going to switch to the driver's seat. Okay, turn around. And now he's going to be reaching up for the seatbelt on this side and clicking it in down here. Okay. You're rotating your hand in the same way you would reaching for the seatbelt. You're here, then you're rotating your arm coming down to click it into the seat. All right. This is going to work the diagonal patterns as well, get everything moving a little better. You're welcome to do this holding your tennis racket as well. Okay. But it's a great thing to loosen up, and this is also an exercise with resistance that a lot of times you'll see in rehab for shoulder programs as well, and also with some performance programs as well.
And at the top here, his thumb should be pointing up?
Yep, he's coming almost like he's going to do a backhand.
All right.
All right.
Gotcha.
Yep, coming up to grab the start of the seatbelt, coming down, and he's rotating down like this to click it in.
So palm back at the... Okay.
Exactly. Okay, so those are some exercises to specifically get the shoulder going, all right, a little bit. Okay, next thing Mike is going to do is he's going to go down into a kneeling position on his right knee. Good. All right.
Which I don't envy on the clay court, by the way. Sorry, Mike.
It's all right. We're going to make it quick. You only got 5 reps to do on each side. All right, what Mike's going to do is he's going to put his arms out like this, and he's going to do what's called a trunk separation. He's going to rotate toward me as far as he can with his upper body without his lower body moving. Okay. All right? Good. You're only going to rotate to the side of the leg that's forward so you can work on that separation of the hips and the upper back. Okay. For the first 5 reps. After 5, then he's going to change directions and rotate the other way to work on opening his hips more. Okay, okay. Okay? switch legs, and then we're going to switch legs back into the open.
So I can imagine this is just good general core activation here.
Exactly. We're activating the core muscles and the oblique muscles with the rotational component.
Okay.
We are working on improving your thoracic and lumbar rotational mobility. All right. A lot of people do have restrictions in their upper back with rotation and movement, which can make the lower back have to move more and compensate for it, which can lead to lower back problems. So, great thing you can do here as you're rotating, working on that rotation. Ideally, you want someone to be able to rotate to where their body is perfectly 90 degrees from their front leg being straight forward. That's a good sign of good mobility there.
Okay.
Very important with pitching athletes and throwing athletes as well, and same with tennis athletes. Good job. Okay, next exercise we're going to go into push-up position. Okay, we're going to do push-up position plank with some leg movements.
Okay.
And then we're going to go right into some push-ups followed by some inchworms. So it's a little sequence we're going to do.
All right.
Okay, very similar to the core exercise we demonstrated in the core video.
Right.
First thing Mike is going to do is take his right leg out to the side 3 times. And then his left leg out to the side 3 times. You're working on stabilizing your core so that there's no rotation and then there's no drop in your lower back and your hips. Then he's going to lift his right leg up 3 times, straight up in the air. Again, getting that core activated. We talked about the glutes being important, and we're going to really focus on getting that activation. Okay? We're going to show it from the side too as well, so that the viewers can get a picture of it. Okay?
Getting signals from behind the camera. All right,
okay.
All right, we got
Go
it.
ahead and turn to the side now, Mike.
Ryan, in general, do you, in doing a dynamic warm-up for athletes, you like to go from the top down? I notice you're kind of going, starting from the shoulders, going through the core, or not necessarily?
For the most part, not necessarily top down, but getting the small isolated joint movements first. Okay. And then working into bigger global movements. So that the first few exercises did not require a lot of muscle activation, more so just movement patterns. All right. This is bringing in now some more progressive muscle activation. It's getting the core muscles involved, getting the hip muscles involved a little bit more. Okay. Excellent. All right. From that position, after completing your plank, push-up plank with some leg raises, Mike's just going to simply do 5 push-ups. Now, in the other video, we talked about doing the push-ups with the shoulder blade plus as well. That's not necessarily the most important thing to do with this. However, you're welcome to add that in to your warm-up program, just like we did in the other one, or simply do just standard push-ups. Okay. And then after doing his 5 push-ups, he's going to do 5 inchworms. In place, just like we demonstrated in the other video too, where he's going to walk his hands back toward his feet, and then walk his hands away. Okay, this is a closed chain dynamic stabilization warm-up of your shoulder muscles. Gets your core muscles activated and also gets a good stretch down the backside as well. Great. Excellent. After that, Mike is going to stand up. Okay. Now that we got the core activating a little more, we're going to work on stabilizing the hips with some exercises that focus more so on the hips and balance, and secondarily, of course, core stabilization through balance. Okay. So Mike's just going to do some standing knee hugs. All right. Hold him here. He's going to hug his knee up to his chest. Pause for just a moment. Down. Switch and hug his knee to the other chest. So he's working on his balance here. He's working on hip mobility. It's very important that the leg he is standing on, if you could just turn to the side as you demonstrate this again, the leg that he's standing on should be staying straight, so you're working on a good separation of the hips. You don't want to be going up onto the toes trying to compensate and make up for that extra motion. You want to force that mobility. So 5 to 10 reps again on either side. If you're a little tighter with this, you do more. If you're very fit and you have good mobility, 5 reps on each side will be good. Okay. From this, Mike's going to turn back around and do the same thing, but with a hip rotation. A lot of people who are very highly involved in athletics who may not be spending a lot of time doing some flexibility exercises tend to have very tight hip rotation muscles. So what Mike's going to do is, as he's marching up, he's going to lift his knee and his foot doing a march but with a hip rotation component to improve the hip mobility.
Okay.
And he's just going to hold that for a moment just like that. Switching sides back and forth. We're going to have Mike do 5 on each side. As you're doing this, you want to keep that good posture. You don't want to be slouched. If you're having trouble with the balance, hold it for a second longer and practice that. Or go, revisit our dynamic balance video that we did, the segment, to get more information and more advice on how to get your balance better if this is challenging for you to do this without wobbling all over the place.
And the fact that he's on one foot and he's having to balance himself, is that just additional good kind of core activation, getting the core going?
Exactly. His core muscles are working to stabilize his hips so that his hip doesn't fall out to the side, so that his body doesn't rotate when he lifts his leg, so that he keeps good posture. So it's a more functional core exercise.
Okay.
All right. Next thing we're going to do are single leg RDLs. Again, another exercise that we demonstrated in our knee segment for lower extremity. We're going to do this as a warm-up exercise. So Mike is just going to do 5 per leg. Again, you're hinging from the hips. You are going down with a flat back. After this third one, Mike, let's turn to the side so they can see from the side there. And if you notice that Mike has his knee slightly flexed, very, very important. You don't want to have your knee locked out. You want to have it flexed and athletic,
okay,
yet not be squatting up and down, focusing on the hinge at your hip.
Okay.
Okay, switch legs. Mike's doing a great job too of keeping his back flat as well. You only go down as far as your flexibility allows you to go with this.
Okay.
If you have very tight hamstrings or tight low back and you can only go halfway, then that's all the farther you want to go. Don't go farther by slouching and reaching your shoulders down. That's not going to get the most benefit of the exercise as it's meant to. Okay? And then the last thing we're going to do in place here are some lateral lunges. All right? So Mike is just going to take a little, about 1.5 times as wide as shoulder width stance. And all he's going to do is pretend like there is a chair behind each of his feet. And he's going to lunge back and forth, putting his butt to that chair.
Okay.
5 times each side. He's keeping an athletic upper body posture with a slight forward lean, just like he's doing. If you'll notice here, his hip, knee, and foot are in vertical alignment as he's squatting to that side. And he's getting a good adductor stretch along the inside of his leg as he's coming down with the back leg remaining straight. Let's have you turn to the side so they can see it from that way. You'll see he's keeping his weight back, he's keeping his heels down, which is very important. A lot of people make the mistake of going upward into their toes or turning their feet outward or having their knee collapse, and you really want to avoid those 3 things as you're doing this.
Okay.
Excellent. So those are the in-place dynamic warm-up activities. The next thing we're going to do is move on to some movement patterns and progressively working your speed up to prepare you for the tennis levels.
Okay, great, good stuff.